Yeah, not excuse me, not a whole lot different after reviewing the film. I think same sentiments. As it's hard when you run 46 plays, don't do a lot, don't do anything in the first half, third downs, all that kind of stuff puts tremendous strain on, everybody else, and so that was disappointing. It's good to see KJ settle in a little bit in the second half, run the ball a little bit in the second half, but like we talked about. Good team, Stanford, answering right away, put us right back on our heels. So, different style team this week. Equally explosive on offense. We'll have our hands full there, and looking to make some strides on offense.
Hope to get your defense a little healthier this week, or is it?
Yeah. Like I said after the game, I think at this point in the season, sometimes it's rotating bodies. You get some guys back and some guys out. But, yeah, we are hopeful that we'll get a couple guys back ready to roll a little healthier than they were last week.
You figure that would be an uphill climb with going into that game on defense with so many guys banged up?
Well, yeah, I think the main thing is playing a real explosive offense. I think our guys we'll have guys, and we'll be healthy enough to go out there. That's not going to be the main issue. I think Arizona's the main issue.
Is the plan to try to get Jake the number one reps in practice again this week, or
Yeah, we'll see how he is tomorrow, and. He's ready to roll. He's ready to roll. Hopefully he is. Yeah.
Unless you're trying to just shut him down almost completely for the past week?
No, we didn't shut him down. He threw last week in practice. And so it's just, how much zip he can put on the ball. And, every day gets a little bit better and all those things. So, yeah.
What was your evaluation of KJ when you were able to break it down?
Yeah. He knew where he was going with the ball. That sounds easier than it is sometimes with all the different coverages and those type of things. But he really did. He was real decisive where he was going with the ball. I think Stanford's a really good pass rushing team. They really are. They put a lot of pressure. They get great push. That D-line is relentless. They do a great job. We knew that going in. So a couple times it was hard for him to set his feet like he needed to get the zip on it. When he did a couple times in the second half, the protection was a little bit better. He threw a couple nice balls. You're going, okay, that's how it should look, and that's what we know how he can throw. And so I thought the second half was better certainly than the first half, but we had the ball so little in the first half. I think probably the biggest disappointing thing was the third downs in the first half. Just the 3 and outs and not converting and some real manageable third down situations, and a little better in the second half.
What did you think about his decision making when it came to kind of some of the zone read stuff?
Yeah.
One initially, and he's got an option to run.
Yep. I'll tell you, it's interesting to look at it on tape. And I think he even came off one time and said, I should have kept that. But you look at it on tape, you can kind of see what a guy was thinking out there. He's going to still have to outrun a guy. It wasn't like it was as open as maybe we thought it was from the field, maybe what you saw as well. I think there was about 3 times he kind of had options to pull it. And I think one he probably would like to have pulled.
It was kind of hard. Was his touchdown run, was that a designed run, or did he just see things early on that he just wasn't going to be able to get what was called?
Yeah, it was not a design run, and he had a couple very, very good reps in the second half, throwing the ball, and that scramble was another really good one. He did a great job making a guy miss, getting himself into that end zone. It really called kind of for sometimes when you empty things out, if it's not there, and they're rushing 3 guys, kind of looks like a quarterback draw, which sometimes can be built into that type of thing. He did exactly what he needed to do.
How do you manage because I know after the game you talked about being fair to him early, and yet you need to jumpstart the offense and kind of get through these slow starts. How do you kind of manage the two ideas?
Yeah, it's frustrating. Like I say, we're all frustrated when we're going 3 and out and having so few plays. That's as few plays as I think I've ever been associated with. And so then, that's why we're frustrated to leave him on the field. And I know when the guy gets into a rhythm, he can do some really good things. And everybody get into a rhythm. The run game get into a rhythm, then we can throw it a little bit. But it's, when you feel like you're dealing with so little margin for error that everything has to be just right to move the chains against a good defense, it can be frustrating when you're going 3 and out.
As far as the first half offense, is there anything as a staff you guys think about changing, like calling or schematic wise, or is it more just like waiting for these guys to get over the hump of the...
Like I say, I think each game there's certain things that you go back and you say, yeah, maybe call this one different, but it's not a lot of that. I mean, we can put the tape on in every play. If we get execution here and execution there, I mean, we have it. I mean, a lot of times it's like one guy, that's a little bit of the frustration.
Able to stick to the script you put together for your first however many offensive plays with these slow starts, or has the lack of third down conversions and being able to move the chains forced you to deviate from that?
Well, I think the lack of third down conversion hurts you a little bit. I mean, you have some openers that you're trying to see some different formations to see if they're going to play us the rest of the game. Kind of like we're thinking, and so it's important to get some of those looks and see what we can kind of come back to later. But I think the main thing is not converting on third downs, or we get a first down and then the next is, running 4 plays or 5 plays. If we can stay on the field a little bit, I know everybody feels a lot different. And hopefully score a touchdown one of these early drives.
Well, I was just going to say, just in general, because Stanford's, their schemes are so unique, especially on offense nowadays, I don't know if relief's the right word, but is it a good thing kind of going forward that the rest of the offenses, I know they have their nuances and but they still kind of do shotgun and they're still kind of spread.
Right.
You kind of get to now get into maybe back to the normal mode a little bit.
Yeah, it's certainly what you see more often than not. I think the main thing, though, is, when you look at anybody, are they good at what they do? There's just a lot of different styles. Now, Stanford's style is unique, and they're just really good at what they do as well. I mean, they got, it always comes down to, I think players, obviously, first and foremost, and then there's the scheme. Are they good at what they do? And when you start with Stanford on offense, and that offensive line is really, really good, and they got a spectacular running back, and that fifth-year quarterback knows what he's doing back. I mean, they just, like we talked about, they got all the pieces in place. And so, you put the new film on of somebody that's like, okay, we don't see a Stanford type anymore. Is that a good thing? Well, everybody has enough wrinkles. And like Arizona, I mean, they're a juggernaut on offense. I mean, I think they're leading the conference in offense and points and all those type of things. So they are hard to slow down as well. So a new set of problems. And so I really think of it more so as just, well, how good are they? How much talent, how much skill do they have? But, it may help a little bit that you see quite a bit of zone read. But I think that it doesn't slow them down at all. Those guys still operate at a high level.
I know everything evolves and the defenses match the offenses and then the offenses innovate and the defense. I mean, it's a constant kind of cat and mouse game. Do you think that the offenses will eventually kind of evolve or devolve back into maybe more of that power mode at times?
Yeah, I think you might see some more power teams, but I don't think you're going to see a ton because, what I think is different is the athletic running quarterbacks that there's a lot of those guys out there. I mean, that's what a lot of the high schools are doing. And you spread them out and it just puts such tremendous stress on the defense. In the NFL is a different game. They cannot get that guy dinged at all, and so they'll dabble in it. I mean, you see some of the teams, but they're very, very cautious, very smart. It's not going to be their whole system by any stretch. But I think everything's cyclical, but I don't see it like going back to the old days of, you might have some teams that, kind of gravitate toward the Stanford style, and that'll be, unique to them.
Defense has been exemplary all year long. How do you think they played the other night?
I thought they played, I I thought they played like they kind of normally do. I thought they played real hard. I thought they played physical against a physical offense. I think, again, what hurts the defense tremendously is when we don't create a lot of offense. I think that puts a lot of pressure. I think the game, the momentum, the energy changes when you do some things on offense. And we just didn't even have the ball much. And so I think that really stresses them against a good offense. They power you for 5 yards, 4 yards, and then they got a nice play action game off it. And they do enough to, move McCaffrey around and get him the ball. So, I thought they did, I thought they battled hard in the first. I thought they battled all game long. But, when you're not creating a ton of offense, I think it puts stress on the defense as well.
How much more will they have to prepare for with the two styles of quarterbacks? Randall's such a great runner.
Well, yeah, he runs the ball more than the other guy, but their style's what it is. I mean, they're a running offense. Solomon, he runs the ball as well. He's a zone read quarterback. So it's not like they're deviating tremendously from what they do. They may have a few more designed runs for him, quarterback draws, those type of things. You can scramble, but they're not creating a new offense for him.
Miles, the way he's running, do you have to fight sometimes the tendency to just feed him the ball more like 38 times instead of 18 times?
We definitely need to get him the ball. He's proven that he's making plays for us without question. But we also need to have some balance to our offense to be able to get the pass game going a little bit. I think that's the rub. That's the interesting part of things. And so, yeah, he keeps moving the chains for us a little bit. But, they're just going to keep packing the box and make it a little bit ridiculous if we don't get some things going in the pass game. And we need to be able to get some explosive things going, which have been minimal for us.
Did Stanford try to do that in the second half? Did they change things up to maybe try to take him out a little bit?
Not really. They kind of played like they had played most of the game, kind of how we expected them to play. They have a lot of defense. They got different coverages. They're disguised and they do that, but it wasn't different really than what we thought. Miles made a couple really good moves, make some guys miss to get some things started. A couple times we blocked things pretty cleanly. Little combination of those two things.
Speaking, when you've got a stretch like this where the offense isn't executing consistently and there's been a couple ugly results, how much of that in general do you think falls to the offensive coordinator?
I think we could go through every single play and show you where it is. The head coach, quarterback, those guys, always going to take the bullets. And there's a lot more people involved than just that.
Anything else?
Yeah.
Wasn't highly recruited, I don't think. What did you guys see back then on him? And obviously seems like he's becoming more involved in the defense.
Well, I kind of go back to that highly recruited thing. I think that's very, very overrated. And I think there's a lot of people that like Ben, including us. And I think when we got him, we felt really, really good about it. You never know until you get guys here. I always say that, really, to know their football instincts. We knew he was extremely bright, student, person, all those type of things. Really tough, high motor guy. But you don't know until you get him here. And he plays with great energy. He is really, really sharp on the field as well as off the field. And I think he gets things really, really fast. If something happens out there that somebody gets him on something, he almost comes back chuckling to the sideline going, and that's not going to happen again. And it usually doesn't. And so we're excited about him. He's been doing a great job. Not only just getting some good reps at linebacker, but on special teams as well. He keeps showing up.
You said you hoped Kevin King's deal wasn't serious. Is that how it turned out?
It's not serious.
What are the unique aspects of Arizona's defense, that stack, and how do people traditionally try to combat it?
So, you see a lot of odd defenses, three-man front these days with all the spread-type teams. What makes it a little more different is how they stack the linebackers, those 5 linebackers, stack them and cover them up. So it is a little bit unique. They also, have a nice blitz pattern out of those guys, so it's not just 3 guys rushing all the time. The blitzes come from different, and sometimes they're tough to identify where they're coming from. And so I think a little bit, talking about like Stanford's offense, Arizona's defense is unique in terms of, I think they're the only guys in our conference that run this style of defense. And so something new here in 3 days that we gotta get ready to prepare for.
Something where looking at tendencies and things like that might even be more crucial with a team like them in terms of just, maybe they might leave some gaps open if basically if they're covering their own guys up sometimes, if they try to overbalance a side, things like that.
Yeah, and I think they're hard to, they got smart coaches as well, as most guys do. And so they know, and there's a lot of defense there in terms of blitzing and who's coming through what gaps, and all of a sudden you're starting to chase ghosts. And so what we're always trying to do is simplify it for our kids, ourselves, so you can see 1,000 different defenses. Now he's hitting this gap, now he's hitting with all these different combinations. And so we got to simplify it and, be able to pass protect, let alone run block.
Knowing your personnel and who you've had to work with over the year on offense, how much have you had to maybe simplify things or pare down the playbook?
Yeah, we're very aware of that with the new guys that we have. I don't think that, in terms of what we're putting into the game plan has been handcuffing by any imagination what we put in. Now, sometimes it does show up a little bit in execution. Not so much blown assignments, but maybe a step short, a little bit late, getting creased, being able to react, snap of the fingers. Some of that shows up a little bit. But we just feel like we just got to keep building on it. And, each one of these guys seems to be making a little bit of progress each game.
Anything else? All right, thanks a lot.
Thank you, guys.